He has no name. He has no past. And right now, he is sitting in a maximum security facility on the outskirts of a city that refuses to claim him. The world has been trying to identify him for over 7 years. They have failed every single time. What you are about to hear is not a conspiracy theory. It is not a work of fiction. This is the true story of the man who walked out of the ocean with no memory, no identity, and a secret so dark that entire governments have reportedly tried to bury it. If you think you have heard every mystery the internet has to offer, think again. Because this one does not have an ending. It does not have a conclusion. It only has questions. And the deeper you dig, the less you will want to know the truth. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you are going to realize that some doors are never meant to be opened. And this man, he is the key that fits every single one of them. It all started on a cold Tuesday morning in November. A fisherman was casting his net off the coast of a small island nation known for its quiet beaches and lack of crime. He was not expecting to catch anything unusual that day. The water was rough. The sky was gray. He was about to pack up and go home when he saw something bobbing in the waves. It was not a piece of driftwood. It was not a buoy. It was a man. A man floating face down in the freezing water, barely clinging to life. The fisherman pulled him aboard and called for help. The rescue team arrived within minutes. They wrapped him in blankets and rushed him to the nearest hospital. The doctors worked quickly. They managed to stabilize him. But when he opened his eyes, something was terribly wrong. He looked around the room with a blank stare. He did not speak. He did not cry. He did not ask where he was. When the nurse asked him for his name, he simply shook his head. At first, they thought he was in shock. They thought the trauma of nearly drowning had temporarily erased his memory. But hours turned into days, and days turned into weeks. The man remained silent. He would eat when food was placed in front of him. He would sleep when the lights went out. But he would not communicate. The hospital staff brought in psychiatrists. They brought in neurologists. They ran every test they could think of. The results came back clear. There was no brain damage. There was no physical injury. The man was perfectly healthy. And yet, he had no idea who he was. He could not recall a single detail about his life before that morning. He did not recognize his own face in the mirror. He did not remember his mother, his father, or any childhood memories. It was as if he had been born the moment he hit the water. The local police opened a missing persons case. They took his photograph and sent it to every law enforcement agency in the region. They ran his fingerprints through international databases. They compared his DNA to samples from unsolved cases across the globe. Nothing. Not a single match. It was as if this man had simply appeared out of thin air. The media got wind of the story, and it spread like wildfire. News outlets across Europe and Asia picked it up. They gave him a nickname. They called him the Man of the Sea. But the nickname did not last long, because soon something much stranger began to happen. People started coming forward. They claimed they knew who he was. They claimed they had seen him before. One woman from a neighboring country insisted he was her long-lost brother who had disappeared during a hiking trip decades ago. She brought photographs. She brought letters. She was absolutely certain. The police brought her to the hospital. She walked into the room and looked at the man. And then she froze. Her face went pale. She backed away slowly and shook her head. She said it was not him. She said she had made a terrible mistake. But when the reporters pressed her for more details, she refused to speak. She left the building quickly and never returned. That was the first red flag. But it was not the last. A few weeks later, a retired intelligence officer from a country that shall remain unnamed contacted the local authorities. He did not call the police. He called a private number. He told them that they needed to stop investigating the man. He told them that they were wasting their time. He said, and I quote, "Some people are not meant to be found." The authorities dismissed him as a crank. They assumed he was just another conspiracy theorist looking for attention. But then the man vanished. Not from the hospital. The hospital was still there. The nurses were still there. But the man? He was gone. His room was empty. His bed was made. There was no sign of a struggle. No sign of a break-in. He simply was not there anymore. The local police launched a massive search operation. They dragged the nearby rivers. They checked every bus station and airport. They interviewed every single person who had visited the hospital in the past 48 hours. They found nothing. The case went cold. And for a while, the world moved on. But then, nearly 6 months later, the man turned up again. This time, he was found wandering the streets of a bustling city more than 1,000 miles away. He was wearing the same clothes he had on when he disappeared. He looked exactly the same. He had not aged a single day. He had not lost any weight. He was clean and well-groomed, as if he had just stepped out of a barbershop. The police who found him were stunned. They asked him where he had been. He did not answer. They asked him how he had gotten there. He shrugged. They took him to a new facility. They put him under 24-hour surveillance. This time, they decided to dig deeper. They hired a private investigator named David. He was a former detective with over 30 years of experience. He had solved hundreds of cases. He had tracked down fugitives and uncovered hidden identities. He was the best in the business, and even he could not crack this one. David spent months interviewing the man. He tried different techniques. He spoke to him in multiple languages. He showed him photographs of different countries and cultures. He played music from different eras. The man showed no reaction. He did not recognize anything. But there was one detail that David found incredibly disturbing. The man never blinked. Not once. He stared at the investigator with an unblinking gaze that made him deeply uncomfortable. David started to believe that this man was not suffering from amnesia. He started to believe that this man was hiding something. David went back to the beginning. He reviewed the original medical files from the first hospital. He read every single note. And that is when he found it. A small detail buried in the paperwork. A detail that had been overlooked by everyone. The man had a tattoo on the inside of his wrist. It was not a name. It was not a symbol. It was a series of numbers. 7 digits. They were not random. They followed a specific pattern. David ran the numbers through a classified database that he had access to. What he found made his blood run cold. The numbers corresponded to a classified project that had been shut down in the 1980s. A project involving psychological experiments. A project that had been buried so deep that most people did not even know it existed. David did not share this information with the police. He did not share it with the media. He went straight to the man. He sat him down in a private room. He looked him in the eyes. He asked him one simple question. He said, "Who did this to you?" And for the first time, the man spoke. His voice was low and raspy, as if he had not used it in years. He said, "I do not remember my name, but I remember the room. I remember the lights. I remember the needles." He stopped. He looked at David with an expression that cannot be described as fear or anger. It was something else entirely. It was emptiness. He said, "They wanted to make me forget, but they did not know that I have never forgotten anything. I remember every second. I just cannot tell you who I am because there is no one left to tell." David tried to push further. He asked about the project. He asked about the people in the room. The man looked away and said, "They are all gone. They erased themselves before they could be erased." That was the final piece of the puzzle. The man had been part of something dark, something that existed in the shadows, something that was never meant to come to light. But the mystery does not end there, because the very next day, David was found dead in his own apartment. The official cause of death was listed as a heart attack, but everyone who knew him said he was healthy. He had no history of heart problems. His family demanded an autopsy. The request was denied. The case was sealed. And the man? He was transferred to a new facility. A secret facility. A facility that does not exist on any map. Since that day, no one has seen him. No one has heard from him. The media stopped reporting on his story. The news channels went silent. The internet slowly forgot about him. But every now and then, a blurry photograph surfaces on a forum. A photograph of a man standing in the distance. A man with no name. A man with no past. A man who looks exactly the same as he did 7 years ago. He has not aged a single day. He has not changed at all. So who is he? Is he a victim of government experimentation? Is he a traveler from a different timeline? Is he a ghost? Or is he something far more terrifying? Something we are not ready to understand. The truth is out there. I am certain of that. But the real question is whether we are brave enough to find it. Because sometimes the search for the truth is more dangerous than the truth itself. And that is where we leave this story for now. But I want to know what you think. Do you believe this man is real? Do you think his memory loss is genuine? Or is he hiding something far more sinister? Comment your thoughts down below. And if you found this mystery as compelling as I did, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. There are more secrets out there. And I promise you, the next one is even darker. I will see you in the next video.